Social Justice Goblin here. Welcome to the backyard. Oh my god, I made so many videos. It's been weeks since I've made a video because I wanted to get more topical and just have more fun, because I like to talk about wrestling, and part of talking about wrestling is talking about the storylines and the matches and the fact that Zack Ryder's getting a title shot for the SmackDown titles right before the Survivor Series on Raw. So I'm definitely watching Raw on Monday. I never watch Raw. I watch SmackDown, but I don't watch Raw. It's just 3 hours of wrestling is a lot of wrestling, and to be honest, WWE is kind of mediocre. It's kind of mediocrity. I can't even pronounce the word. It's just banal. It's too scripted. So, I don't even know where I am on the storyline. Last thing, I think I was ranting at Jim Correnette over something he did to New Jack. The Jim Correnette ranting has moved to Twitter, where it's gotten interesting. Because on Twitter, Ninja Pirate TX, for those that want to follow me on Twitter, I've been tweeting the living hell out of Jim Correnette. But the thing is I never changed my profile picture, so I'm in a pussy hat with my mouth taped, so I look like this total feminist. So Jim Correnette actually, he's been ignoring me, and, for obvious reasons. I mean, oh Lord, it's one of those feminists. I gotta make him, this is a good guy feminist. No! You're ruining my storylines! Because, Jim Cornette's a work. He loves the fact that there's angry people at him. Jim Correnette can take heat. I mean, this is a guy who used to carry a gun in his car and has stories about having to run out of towns. You think he can't handle a little heat from the internet? In fact, he's enjoying it because he's got, because that brings in listeners. Jim is a smart businessman when it comes to wrestling. And that's the thing that I love about Jim Correnette, because if you talk to Bruce Pritchard about Jim Correnette, he tells a different side about Jim Correnette. Because Jim Correnette and the Russo feud, I was watching a YouTube video about this from Bruce Pritchard on his podcast, random video that came up. He said Jim Correnette was traditional Southern wrestling, which he is. I mean, it's Kentucky style wrestling. It's Nashville, Memphis. He worked in the Mid-South. I mean, he spent his career in North Carolina. He spent his entire career, for the most part, at least his formative years, for the most part, when he, and he also grew up with Southern wrestling. And I love Southern wrestling because I'm Southern, from Kentucky. But I'm a military brat, so I'm from everywhere. As one friend said, what do you think about those East Texans? Those East Texans are different than East Kentuckians. East Kentuckians, and I'm like, we don't go to them parts. They dang rural. Like, so much that the blue skin people exist in that region. Look it up. And I'm dead serious. The blue skin people are real. It's a genetic fluke. They have blue skin. I mean, obviously they have pills now to cure it, but there was a period in Kentucky where there was a lot of people in one valley that had blue skin. So, and then he goes about Russo. Russo is a New Yorker. So Russo and Cornette feuded like there was no tomorrow, because this is the North. WWE, WWF, WWE. It was WWF at the time. I'm sorry. It's hard for me to say WWE because I grew up with WWF. Anyways, as I tangent away, Russian novel. So, anyways, where was I going with this story? Oh, yeah. And so it was just a conflict of style, and they just hated each other. It was the North versus the South, according to Blue. So, I mean, so he has a Southern mind, and his style is Southern. But I love AEW because it's an outlaw mode show. And I'm going to make a video explaining that whole premise. Just a little foreshadowing of what's coming. I'm going to even put on my outlaw mode shirt. But, in all seriousness, that's one of the complaints I have about Jim Cornette, is because he's deeply set in Southern style 70s wrestling. Bloody, violent, and as close to a fight as you could humanly get. So he understands how a fight, like how fights work, and how, rankings and, all that stuff works. And a lot of what he says is true. It's still right. As Bruce Prichard said, he's still right. He's got great ideas. He just doesn't present them well. And that's part of the problem with Jim. You either love him or you hate him. I'm kind of in the middle with Jim. Actually, I know I love him. But I'm in the middle. But, yeah. Jim Cornette. Yeah. I don't even know. Jim Cornette. So, the gist, as I Russian novel my way to the gist of this YouTube video, Jim Cornette finally responded to me. So I sent out a tweet saying, I'm enough with the BJs. Admit it, AEW is a fresh breath in the sea of mediocrity that is the WWE. Misspelled mediocrity. Guess what? I have dysgraphia. You might know it by what everyone knows it by, dyslexia. And Jim, you was picking on handicapped people. So add it to the list of crap that the feminists are yelling at you about, because he was one sexist man. He don't like women. Just admit it, Jim. You want them to be subservient. But just imagine if you had a daughter, Jim. Wouldn't she be a sassy little Kentuckian woman? So yeah, I finally provoked a response out of Jim Cornette on Twitter. And he definitely got put a zinger in, and people were like, "Ha, the feminist got it! He zinged a feminist!" But the problem is, I do like texting random crap to Jim Cornette and waiting for him to retweet it. I just tell him the truth, what I feel. And that's my whole Twitter. I tweet all day. So I finally got a response out of Jim Cornette. And that was the whole point of this video, with a long, drawn-out story. Because I tell in Russian novels.